And thank all of you for being here. We appreciate your presence here today. I represent the 1st Congressional District of Georgia. We are very blessed to have 2 Army installations in our district. We have Hunter Army Airfield and we have Fort Stewart. We care very much about our military and those installations, and particularly the families. In fact, we have about 500 families that are participating in the Army Fee Assistance Program, and providing for our military families, as I say, is very important to me and to my staff and to all the citizens of the 1st Congressional District. Dr. Fraga, I want to ask you, is Child Care Aware of America ready to take on full administration of this program starting this year? Are you ready?
Thank you for the question. We have been working very diligently with the GSA and with the Army to ensure during our discovery period that we were able to unpack any questions, concerns, information that was necessary for us to put forward our recommendation on a timeline and a transition. We feel that we have worked very hard in addressing the ramp-up of taking back a program such as this. We understand its importance and its urgency, and we also want to ensure we do it right. We have been very successful in implementing this program in the past, not only for the Army, but for the other military services. And we do believe we have created a transition plan that's deliberate in coordination with the Army and with the GSA that will reap success on the timeline we've described.
Great. You're aware, of course, that you may acquire some of the backlog that existed. Now, are you prepared to take on that backlog as well as start administering the program?
As we have described the transition process in partnership with GSA and with the Army, we actually are going to be taking on new families and new providers on February 22nd and working in collaboration with GSA and with the Army over the course of the transition in phases that would not necessarily include taking on a backlog, but rather ensuring that we are taking on new families and providers, and families that have, in phases, have been able to take on, that we are going to be able to take on families in phases over time that have been addressed by GSA in their work over time. So
okay, so what you're telling me is that you're ready to take on the new families, but yes, the backlog, you're not necessarily going to concentrate on that initially.
The backlog, no, we are not going to be focused on the backlog at the outset.
Will you at any point?
By phase. So each of the phases.
And those phases, are how much time are we talking about?
Each phase is approximately 1 month.
Okay. So in a matter of months, you will be accepting that backlog.
Yes, and we are prepared and feel that by the end of a 7-month to 8-month period, by October, we will be fully operating the fee assistance program, which would include all families across the country.
And all backlog.
And hopefully there will be no backlog. But we do anticipate that by the end of October of 2016, that all of those families will be within our system, and will be fully operating the Army Fee Assistance Program.
Okay. Has the Army authorized you to use the pay and chase system?
I am not familiar with that system.
The pay and chase system, Ms. Ocho, are you familiar with that system? Any of you familiar with the pay and chase? Where you go ahead and pay, and then you go back and try to recoup any payments, any overpayments?
Sir, that's what we did in order to pay the 8,800 backlog of provider invoices. We authorized GSA to pay the invoiced amount, and we are in the process of now reconciling what we paid against what updated records show was actually owed.
Showed what was actually owed?
Yes.
So were there any overpayments in that?
There were both overpayments and underpayments, and we're not through with the reconciliation process.
When do you think you'll be finished with that process?
It's an ongoing process. As families transition to GSA, that gives more resources that our families.
Can you be more specific than ongoing? Come on, you got to give me something.
Sir, we have 8,800 invoices to reconcile. At this point, we have reconciled about 1,000 invoices, so it's going to take some time to reconcile all of them. Many are due to incomplete records that have to be researched. As families transition to Child Care Aware, GSA can devote more assets to reconciliation and speed up the process, but I can't give you a definitive timeline at this point. By the time everything is transferred to Child Care Aware, we will have the full scope of what is needs to be reconciled within the backlog.
Okay, Ms. Ochoa, it's been reported that there was an 18% error rate in over 40,000 invoices. This would be some 7,200 errors, correct?
That was as of our September report, yes. Sorry. That's correct, as of our September report.
That was in your, do you know how many of those were overpayments?
I do not. The reconciliation process that we've been hearing about is one that's controlled by Army procedures and policy. Army did instruct the GSA to go ahead and pay off the invoices, whether or not they met the authorized amounts in the system. And GSA is taking their instructions about the reconciliation process from Army.
Mr. Chairman, I appreciate you being liberal with my time here, but I just want to make this point, okay? Obviously, we got a mess here. Dr. Fruga, you got an opportunity to start off anew and to get this right, and I hope that you will do that and not get into the situation that we find ourselves in here, a very embarrassing situation where we've got over 7,200 errors that we've got to somehow try to reconcile during this time. So, you know, get it right the first time. That's the most important thing, okay? Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I yield back.
I think